Hey friends, welcome back to another video. This time we're doing a spoiler of the Colorvent Calendar for 2025. So this is really funny. So today I'm recording on Thursday. I'm hoping to have this out tomorrow, Friday. Yesterday, Wednesday, during the day, I received an email from Atlas Stationers that my pre-order was ready to pick up. So I hurried up, I finished all of my work, and then by like 4:30 p.m., I was at the store ready to pick up my Colorvent calendar. Um, and so here I am now recording a little video for you guys. Um, by the way, this purchase of the calendar was possible thanks to all of you who have used my code with Atlas. And just a reminder, it is Erick10, ERICK10 at checkout. Some items are excluded with the coupon, but you can, try to use it whenever possible, and you get to save 10%, sometimes 15%, because they do fix it when they have a bigger sale. And I get store credit. So thank you so much for using my code, and please keep using it so I can, fund these types of purchases and bring you some little entertaining videos. Anyway, so a few things I've noticed really quickly compared to last year's. So I brought out last year's calendar, and last year's cover was a view of space, of the galaxy. We have our little astronaut over here flying through or floating through some rings, heading probably to another planet. And in the back of it, it's kind of the same view. It's the same, just flipped, I suppose. Yes. Um, yeah, and primarily of a very dark or black color on the cover. This year, this year is a little bit different cover. So now we have we have landed on some sort of planet, right? Perhaps Mars. I don't know. And instead of an alien abducting, we have an alien dropping off, and an astronaut with its little Christmas slash Santa Claus outfit. There's Christmas trees. There's a few little, I saw a little Land Rover over here, one over here, some here as well, satellites. So it's super cute. Little nice little cover. Um, I think the back of it is also the same, except for now the UFO has is flying off. Where here it's dropping off a person, right, or whatever. Another thing that I noticed is that the placement of the doors, so the order of the doors that you will be opening in December, are different from last year's calendar. So that's something they did as well, which Diamine has always kept the same order. It's basically the same box. It just gets a new color every year, which is fine. It works for me. I did notice that last year's Colorvent calendar had four shimmering inks, so we'll see how many we get this year. There were a lot of blues, a lot of teals, a lot of grays, pale pinks as well. So I'm excited to see the variation, to see if they've improved that, because it was, looking back now, it was a little like, okay. This calendar is $180. And there are 24 15 milliliter bottles. So that makes it about $7.50 per bottle, which is not bad considering that when you buy samples from a shop, I think, I mean, I don't know, I haven't bought samples, but is it like $3 4 for a 5 milliliter sample? So here you're getting 15 in a little glass bottle, which is not a bad deal, I think. But I know it's a little bit expensive, 180, almost $200, when then you add tax to it, right? So we shall see. So yeah, let's turn you around so we can focus on the swatches. I will be using my Musubi Rasa notebook, which is also what I used uh, to swatch last year's Colorvent calendar. And here are the swatches again, so you can get a glance of the colors from last year. As you can see, there's like there were three blues here in a row, lots of blues here. Like you can see grays here, 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 and then finally we get a pop of yellow over here, which was the last color. And I think they did make it into a big bottle, because at the end of the swatching, people get to vote for three colors that they want to make into full bottles. Um, when I opened my calendar, I also received a little card, which I believe it's a lucky draw gift. You either get a coupon code or you win something. I already scratched mine, so I covered it up with washi just so to be fair to anybody who's buying it. I don't want to just spread around the coupon code. All right, enough talking. Let's turn you around so we can start swatching, and let's look at the colors. Okay, here we are, friends. I will be using my Kakimori brass dip pen and then this Kaleidocraft Prince nib holder, which is so light and it's such a fun little writing instrument. So I'm really enjoying it a lot. I have prepared my swatch pages. Um, since there are 24 colors, I did 4 rows of 6, 3 on each side. And I will be basically going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way down to 24. So, okay, I'll try to get through these as quickly as possible. I know it's a lot of them, uh, and my back will probably appreciate me rushing through these. So, let's get to the first day. Okay, the first day is Martian Dust, which looks like a little reddish color. That seems to be like a wine red, maroonish color. It's not bad. I like it for the very first day. It's very legible, uh, and very strong color. Not a blue, not a gray, not a teal. Perfect. This is the second day, which I don't know how to say very well. Apollon, I suppose. Apollon. I don't know. Sorry, excuse my pronunciation. Looks like a yellow color, so that's exciting. Definitely already looking better than last year's. I think I cleaned my nib enough. That's beautiful. This is the second day already, again, off to a fantastic, great start. Looks like a very golden, toasty yellow, very legible. It's a little bit brighter in person than on camera, or I guess a little bit less toasty, but it's still pretty nice. Moving on to the third color, this is what I'm gonna say, Erebus Crater. And here's a closer inspection of that color. Very strong color, very nice. Even though it's like it starts off as a gray, it does have some really interesting shading, and it's not like a pale gray ink. So this is really nice. For the fourth day, we have Milky Way, and this appears to be our first glistening color. That's what they call their shimmers. So let's shake that a little bit so we can get some of that. Sorry, I forgot if I said the name, but this is Milky Sea. Okay, all I'm gonna say is this is very different from last year's calendar. Uh, this is a very beautiful color, almost like a navy color here. I'm still not seeing some of the shimmer, but it's probably all pooled there. And I did put a little star next to the name so I can, you know, refer to that later as a glistening color. For day 5, we have the Void, which looks like a black color. This is interesting. This is nice. Here is a close-up of that color. Although it does appear black, I feel like we'll see at the end, but I almost feel like it's going to be a sheeny color. I do see a little bit of pink when I like move it around, but that's probably just like the light hitting it. But for most of the part, for most of it, it does appear to be mostly black though. For day 6, we have Sungrazing Comet. Here is a close up of that color, a very deep blue, very pretty, very, very nice. I'm super happy with the first week of colors. This is day 7, LGM, and I was really curious about this name, which I realized later, like last year, done swatched, after having swatched the colors, is that if you open the doors of the Colorvent calendar, there's a little more information on the back of that door. So I peeked at the box, and this is supposed to be Little Green Man. So just FYI, I didn't open the doors just because I wanted to get the full calendar out in one piece, just because I wanted to get the complete calendar out for easy access to the colors. But yeah, that's probably another fun aspect of this color vent calendar. Here is a close up of that fun color, friends. This looks like a very limey green. It's still very legible, so I wonder how it does in a pen. The next color that we have is Snow Angel. Looks like a pale pink color, so we shall see. And here is a close up of that color, friends. I like it. It's actually different than what I expected. It's a dusty red. Um, Still leaning toward the pink, but yeah, it's still very legible. Super nice. Okay, for day 9, we have something completely different. This is called Morning Frost on Mars, and it's labeled Gleamix, which when I was peeking through the Colorvent calendar, it says add a small amount to a standard ink to achieve a shimmering effect. So I think this is supposed to be like a shimmering potion that you can just add to any ink to make it a shimmery ink. And the back of the bottle had this little very compacted pipette. So I'm gonna see if I can just swatch very little. I don't want to swatch a lot, because then I'll be wasting a lot of this, right? Okay, here's a close-up, friends. As you can see, there's very little color. It's a very beigey color, but there is plenty uh of shimmery powder in there, so you can see how much that glistens. And let me check back on the Milky Sea. Now you can see a little bit of that shimmer. But yeah, that's gonna be fun. That's very interesting. Okay, for day 10, we have Flame Nebula, which looks like an orangey color. And here is a close-up of that color, friends. Yes, nice little orangey color. A very light orange. It's not very bright, um, but it's still a very nice color. Okay, for day 11, we have Blue Hole. Looks like a light blue color. Here is a close-up of that color, friends. It looks like a minty blue, minty, maybe just more of a minty color. It's leaning green and blue at the same time. I'm really enjoying that. That's different so far. Moving on to day 12, this is Blood Falls. I'm sure there's a great explanation to that name, but for now I'm not gonna question it. But this is our second kind of deep red slash burgundy. The first one was the very first day, but this looks a little bit deeper and leaning a little bit more red. For day 13, we have Golden Mist. This is interesting, friends. Based on the name, I thought it would be, oh, actually it's changing a little bit. It it went down more as a peachy type of color. I was expecting more yellow, but it does seem to be shading between peach and yellow. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's actually interesting. It does look to be a little bit light, so I wonder how it'll do in a pen. Moving on to day 14, this is Maven Mission. Here is a close-up of that color, friends. It's a very deep purple. Um, it's actually really nice. Very, you can still get a lot of that purple when you're writing with it, probably. In my camera right now, it does look a little bit deeper, like almost leaning black. But no, it's actually just a deep purple. Very, very nice. Moving on to day 15, this is Follow the Water, another glistening color. So this is our second one. Okay, friends, here is a close-up of that color. I think I only got just a little bit of shimmer, so I wonder if I should swatch it again. I think I may do that, see if I can get a little bit more. Okay, it looks like I did get more shimmer now. So yeah, that's a really interesting color. It looks, reminds me a little bit of a lighter Inaho color. Very, very interesting shading, kind of green, brown, and that shimmer is kind of cool too. The next color that we are doing, this is day 16. We are doing Polar Night. All right, friends, here is a close-up of that color. Um, we're back to the usual with Colorverse. This is a very light gray, purple, gray lavender. Um, but it's pretty. It's very soft, very light. I'm sure some people will like it. Some were probably not gonna be here for it, but there you go. Polar Night. For day 17, we have Diamond Planet. And here is a close-up of that swatch, friends. This is a blue color. So far, let's see, we have about 4 blues, so maybe 5 if you count that one. Not bad. Probably my least favorite. Looks to be a little standard, so I'm not sure. I think I would prefer the Sungrazing Comet instead of Diamond Planet, but this is on the deeper side, so I'm sure there's a lot of people that would like it. For day 18, we have Red Aurora. Okay, friends, here is a close-up of that color. That's interesting. It's very bright. It almost looks like it's glowing from within, from inside the color. It's a more of a pinkish red, but it's still interesting. I don't think I've seen anything, at least in my collection, in that color. For day 19, we have Cosmic Reef. Here is a close-up of that color, friends. A very deep, more like a steel blue. Um, Not bad. Just wish we didn't have like blue, red, blue. But it's not a bad color. For day 20, we have Golden Airglow, which looks to be a glistening color as well. Here is that color, friends. It's still drying, but it does look like I got plenty of shimmer in there. Looks like a brown black color with gold shimmer. So it's really, really pretty. For day 21, we have Pink Salt. Here is a close-up of that color, friends. Just a standard dusty pink. Different from Flame Nebula. Flame Nebula was an orange. Definitely different from Snow Angel. Snow Angel has more of a lilac mauve type of look. And I would say this is the second pink here. Following up with day 22. Looks like a purple color, Sojourner. Okay, friends, here is Sojourner. This is a very deep night blue. At first, I thought it was going to be more of a purple, like MAVEN Mission over here. But no, it's definitely more of a deep blue color with just a hint of like violet in it. It almost leans black. It's actually kind of interesting. For day 23, we have Lunar Black. Here we have Lunar Black. This is, I would say, the second black here. The Void, which was day 5, uh, does look to be a little bit darker than Lunar Black. Lunar has, it appears to have a little bit of shading going on. At least right now, it's still drying, so it could just be my eyes lying to me, deceiving me. But we'll check it out here in a second when it dries up. Let's move on to day 24. And day 24 is Winter Wonderland, another glistening color. And this is the last day that we get. Alrighty, friends, here is the last color. It's a shimmery color. It looks like a turquoise leaning blue with similar shimmer. I don't think I'm as excited with this last color as I was last year's, which last year's was a nice yellow. But of course, we can't always end the calendar on the same color, right? So this was last year's last color, but I am pretty happy with the overall palette for this year's Colorvent calendar. I think they definitely improved it. There's nice variety. I like immediately see a lot of bright colors. Like we start off with like a red, yellow, there's like a lime green, there's some pinks, there's this really interesting one. There's like I can just quickly count 5 blues. Maybe there's more, but just like, really quickly, that's what I see. There's 2 blacks, which is interesting. Um, there's no grays this time around, except for maybe Polar Night, which is like a lilac gray, like a gray leaning lilac. And then Erebus Crater. I'm sorry if I botched that, but it's more of a gray leaning blue, like a dusty denim blue type of color. Very, very good colors. I think this year's calendar is definitely a must get. Very, very fun. Here's Golden Airglow, which it was still drying earlier. But yeah, it's like a brownish black with gold shimmer. Lunar Black is still drying, but you can see how different it is from the Void. The Void is definitely a black color. Lunar Black is more of like a deep blue black. So yeah, that's all the colors, friends. What do you think? Any favorites? Which one should we vote for? My top three are Follow the Water, um, Erebus Crater. I think that one's so interesting. Um, I also like this one, the second one, Apollon. Sorry again, but Golden Mist is kind of interesting. I want to try that in a pen and see what that looks like, because it's a peachy with like yellow or almost lime green shading. But yeah, I think those are my favorites. I do also like. There's quite a few that I like. I like Golden Airglow just because of the shimmery, like dark color, but I wouldn't get Winter Wonderland. I think like no, there's no way. But anyway, friends, let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Again, thank you so much for your support. If you want to get one, hit up Atlas. I'm not sure if my code applies to the Colorvent calendar, but you know what? Try it out. Like I said, Erick 10, ERICK 10 at checkout. Let me know your thoughts, concerns, any complaints. Which are your favorite colors? Which are your least favorite color? If you can include a name with it, that would be perfect. I'll try to list them out in the description. Um, because if you give me days, and I probably will not be uh, I probably won't know which color you're referring to immediately. But anyway, thank you again for watching, friends. I will catch you again later. Bye bye.